I was just trying to make a video and I realized I got mixed up and the camera wasn't actually on, and I'm talking away to you and talking away and you know, you missed a lot of real good stuff. Anyway, I'll start all over again. It's yes, it's counting down, so we're good. Obviously I need to learn a few things. I'm just going to quickly show you how I did this kind of stamp, how I colored it. It was pretty cool. I saw it on an online YouTube thingy. And what she used was these. And these are called Crayola Super Tips. And they're like really, really cheap. In fact, because they're a school product, they're on sale right now at Walmart. I think I got, I don't know, it's 50 here for like $7 or 50 or 70, I don't remember. And you can get a package of 100 for like $14. Or I think Mom got a pack of 20 for $1.97. Anyway, they're pretty straightforward markers. They're just a water-based marker, which means that they will move when you're using water. They kind of a fat, stubby thing on them, and lots of colors, and like I said, they're really cheap. And the way you use them, it's actually kind of cool. So I will show you how I made this bumblebee. You can see I, put a little bit of yellow in his body and a little bit of blue on his wings. So I've got my ink pad here. Now this is a really good ink pad. This is a Ranger Archival ink. What the nice thing about this ink is it's waterproof. Once I put this on, I could do watercolor over it. I can use these pens I'm going to use with the water pen. Anything, it's not going to move. Not all ink pads are like that. Some ink pads, they'll be fine, they'll be great, and then you add something wet and they start to bleed, which sucks if you're not expecting it. Anyway, so just stamp down, give yourself some nice pressure for a few seconds and lift off, and you've got a nice clear stamp. I actually have, it's just one of those microfiber cloths. You can get them real cheap at the dollar store. I just keep it kind of wet beside me, and I rub my stamps off on it, and I clean my hands. It does a really good job. You can use baby wipes too, but you end up using a lot of baby wipes. And this is nicer because it has that roughness to it that cleans paint off really good. Anyway, I'm going to pick a nice yellow and a pale blue and maybe a soft purple to go around the outside. So I've picked these three colors, and I'm going to use my water pen. You've got these. And what I'm going to do, the way this lady was doing it, she was putting the ink on first and then adding the water, but I found it actually worked better, especially on this paper, because this paper is extremely absorbent. It just sucks up the water like crazy. So the area that I want to put a little color in, I just add some water first, and then I take the pen and I just put a squinch on, and then I just kind of spread it. And you get that nice watercolor look where, it's a little bit darker, a little bit lighter, just a nice soft look. So I'm going to go do his other wing here. And just remember that you do have some color on the pen too. So when I add water to this wing, for instance, not too much, and it would probably be more prevalent if it was a darker color you were using, that you would be transferring some of the color. So if you are going to do something like this, you just want to clean your brush off when you switch to a different color. But yeah, it just gives a nice soft, subtle color to the ink stamp. So I'm just going to wipe that one off and cap that up, and then I'll do my yellow guys. Sort of a I don't know how these are supposed to go together. There we go. So I'll just actually use my left hand and get it in there, and just very softly so I'm going to do all the dark color, all the color on this one side. So when I transfer it over, the one side will be darker than the other side, and you'll get that kind of shading effect. So it looks like one side is more in the shadow a little bit. And just give a bit of color there. Put it on. And I guess his little head. Little head's probably black, but whatever. I'm going to do yellow. So there, he's just got a little washy yellow on him. And, oh, wrong way. Clean my brush off. And then I'm just going to kind of do around the outside. I'm just going to do a little bit of like a outside border. Just go around like that and just blend it out. Just give me a... it's not that great. Try it better on this side. Maybe I need to put a wider band of water so it has somewhere to go. It needs the water to flow. And just put that on and just give it a bit of a smudge. Maybe I'm trying to do too big of an area. But yeah, it's I mean, you could just color these things in solidly, using the pens like they were crayons. But I kind of like just that little soft wash of color. And then what's going to happen once I've done this, I will tear out around this thing to give it a rough edge and put some ink on the edges of it, and I'm good. It's the paper is kind of warping a bit because of the water, but that's a good thing. It gives it a bit of character, a bit of scrunchiness, and around his head there. But you can see that the black ink isn't moving. Whatever I do, the black ink is staying put. It's awesome. And it actually comes in a load of different colors. I must have about 8 of these things in different colors. I've got blue and red and coffee, and I've got two different shades of green, a light and a dark, and I got a magenta and a turquoise and a kind of a pale blue violet, sort of a very subtle shadowy color, and a red one, and a sepia, which is like the old photographs. It's that kind of reddish brownish color. So there's our little bee, and he's got a little border around him. So I can cap off my pen if I can find the lid for it. It's on the end. Okay. And then what I do is I just gently, I probably should wait till it's a bit drier first, but I'm not going to. Once you start tearing paper, I'm just going to tear that to get an edge. Once you start tearing paper, you kind of get a feel for and you actually get pretty good at kind of just tearing around something. You just hold with your thumb and then tear so that you're not doing a kind of a big uncontrolled tear. You don't want to do that. So then I got my little doodad guy, and I'm going to take, these are my distress inks. I actually have a spare set of them, the little mini ones. They're like little 1-inch things, and I have like duplicates. So when I come up, I will bring them to you. So you will have a set of distress inks. And these are makeup sponges. I get them at the Dollar Tree for like $1.25. You can get these. They're the Ranger product, and they have this Velcro on them, and you have a pad assigned to each of your different colors. And I use that for the ink pads that I don't use very much. But this Vintage Photo and some of the others that just kind of do kind of an aging inking, I have them in the big ink pads, and I use these makeup sponges, and they just work awesome. So you can see what's happening on this guy. Now he looks like he's old, and he's been torn out of some old book, but he's just got a little bit of color on him, and it's kind of pretty. So yeah, he's very similar to this guy. So you could do like several of these and put them on a pages if there's a swarm of bees, or you can put them on, make cards with bees on them, or it doesn't have to be bees, you can be anything you have stamped for. And so what I did on this one, before I put the bee on, I stamped it with this kind of garden-y stamp I had, and then put the bee on it. So it's got this subtle, like a butterfly and a bit of flowers behind it. And that's my eyelet thingy I can do. And on the back, it's just brown cardstock, but I had some, when Mom was over on Friday, we were painting onto coffee filters. So I had these, and I had punched out a section of one of them. And so I just glued it onto the corner here, and threw the rest out. Because I have this flower that I cut out of my die cutting, and I was just going to glue it on because I thought it looked kind of pretty. But before I do that, I'm just going to add a bit of ink to it. And because it's so delicate, I can't really hold it and do the edges, so I'm just going to do it off my glass mat and just add a bit of, this is called Vintage Photo. It's, I should own stocks in Vintage Photo, because there must be gallons and gallons of Vintage Photo used every day, because all the journalers and people that do the stuff that I'm doing, you know, they just ink everything up because they want it to look old and quaint. So what I'm going to do with that, I'm going to get one of my glue sticks. Excuse me. So I have some pretty good glue sticks. This one Mum and I really like. It's a Scotch brand, Create. We got them at London Drugs. I think it was $3. It's a permanent glue stick, but it's a very nice kind of creamy, silky feel. Some glue sticks are kind of hard and chalky. Another glue stick that's really good is well, the Yoo-Hoo sticks are good. This is one, it goes on blue, which is nice because you can see where you've put it, and then it dries clear. And then I've got, this one's pretty good, this Elmer's Extreme glue stick. The school glue, the regular school glue, it's okay. Like this pink purple school glue sticks. Like right now, you can get them cheap as hell all over the place because it's the kids use it. But I wouldn't really trust it for its longevity. Even this one, if I was going to make something more permanent, I'd probably use some of my better glues. But anyway, one trick to like doing something this delicate and getting glue on it is just kind of put it on like this, and then just kind of slide it around. And if you get glue on the top part of it, don't worry about it because it'll dry clear. It's not a big deal. And it's going to be all over your fingers, but you can just wipe them off. I have glue over my fingers all the time. That's where having that microfiber cloth right beside you comes in handy. So then I'm just going to put this down. Now, because there's glue on here, in my fingers, if I try and press with my fingers, it's going to want to stick to my fingers. So I always have pieces of wax paper around, and I just grab them. So now I just take the wax paper and I'll rub it, because the glue is not going to stick to the wax paper. And I can just press it down nice till I'm happy with it, and then just gently take the wax paper off, and there it is. Perfect. Some people use acetate sheets, like from packaging, clear plastic sheets. So what I'm going to do now on the other side is just snip off the parts that are overhanging. And there I got a nice little flower on the back of my bee. Now I'll just put that aside to dry. And what I'll do is I'll come up with a word or something that, I don't know, it'll come to me. But it's just a little tag. I'm one of the journals I'm currently working on is kind of a garden-themed journal. And it'll have just little tags here and there tucked into pockets, and this will be one of them. In fact, I will show that to you. It's a work in progress. It they call them traveler's notebooks. I got this idea from, and I'll take these out. That's just going to be the pages. So that's going to be the inside. I've got, some tags on the inside. It's like a library card pocket. It's got writing. These are intended, like the person you give them to will write in it, write their thoughts, write whatever they want. So I tend to make the backs of these, have space where somebody can write things. This is just a giant paper clip that has a picture put onto it. It's got a little charm. And that just goes in there for now. I'm not sure if it'll stay there. There's a button, old button that we got. This is just to remind me how big it is. You can see it's glued down with fabric and with lace to protect the thing. But it has holes punched in it and this is elastic thread. It's stretchy. So this outside part, I can close the book. It's got a little button on there, and so that'll hold the book closed. If somebody was taking it on a trip or something, for instance, they wanted a little book to journal their thoughts or whatnot. That's not me, because I really don't have any thoughts I want to write down, but some people do, I've heard. Anyway, just some stuff I glued on the cover. I got this book at one of the thrift stores for like 50 cents or $1 or something. And I took the insides out and then, glued it over so that all the rough edges were disappeared. But I just kind of like the title, Gems of Thought and Prose and Poetry. So what happens here, these are kind of long because I'm just not sure yet. I just want to make sure that I have them at the right tension before I cut them off. I'm just going to get myself a little crochet hook to grab these. So what happens, and these traveler's notebooks were invented by this Japanese company. They're called Midori, M-I-D-O-R-I. And they come up with this system where you had your cover and you have a set of pages like this, all folded, and they just slip under the elastic and are held in like this. And then you've got a book and you can, go through and do things, and I'll be adding to it as I've stitched lace on the side of one of them and whatnot. But what it means is you can pull this out. You can rearrange the pages in a different order if you want. You can actually take out the pages to work on and put them back in. It has slots for 2 sets of, these are called signatures. A signature is the bundle of paper that goes in a book. And many books will have more than one signature usually. So anyway, just to grab this second piece of elastic, I can take this and slide it under the elastic, and that's in the book now. Now we've got a little book full of paper. And if I were to, I have no idea if you can even see what I'm doing. Just bear with me, because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Anyway, yeah, so it closes up and keeps it all nice and tucked in, and then you just open it up, and you've got, all these pages to do stuff in. You've got pockets. I haven't finished it, and, there's stuff to be fastened down yet, and places to write things. There'll be pockets. You can put things in the pockets or have what's in there already. This is an envelope I've put in that opens up, and you can put something in here and then close it up again. And, a little tag pocket here that you can stick something into. Anyway, this is a pocket. They're all pockets. It's all about the pocket. Anyway, that's my little garden journal. So you'll see more of this puppy as I work on it. But we were going to do, I was going to show you what to do with napkins. So I'm just going to pause and get my shit together for napkins, and I'll be with you in a sec. Okay, I'm back. I'm just going to quickly show you. I've glued some music paper to this tag, and I cut these out of. We have these old file folders at work that we don't use anymore. We have boxes of them, and I've taken handfuls home, so I've got access to like tons of this, file folder type cardstock. But I was just going to show you quickly is how I'm going to glue the paper onto this thing. So I've got my glue stick. And I'm basically just gluing it down real good. Make sure you get all your edges, because that's the part you want to make sure that all your edges are stuck down. And just give it a good coat. And then this is just a piece of scrap paper I'm working on. It's just printer paper. I've got tons of it. And then I've got some book text here. Ooh, I like this because see how it's kind of grungy on the side there. So I'm going to turn that over so I can keep that part. And then I'm going to take my gluey card and just lay it down. And just give it a rub. And give it a nice rub. This is actually, the book's in German. So it's a bit of German text. And then I take my scissors. Now I like to use my big long scissors to do this because you don't have to keep starting and stopping. So you have a nice, you have a straighter edge, than if you have a smaller pair of scissors and you have to keep chopping away at it. Might have been smart to wait till the glue was dry, but whatever. I'm impatient. I'm not going to wait for fucking glue to dry. And then take that. And of course, you can speed these videos up. I'm sure I don't talk very fast, so if you even some of them I put at double speed because I can understand them just fine. One of the things I picked up from one of the ladies I watched, she picked it up from Rachel or one of those cooking ladies. Anyway, was a waste bowl or a bucket. I just have an old flower pot. Instead of reaching around all the time to throw stuff in the garbage, I just have my little pot right here, and just for all the little bits and pieces, it's just right there. I can put them in the garbage and empty it out every now and then. But it's, because my garbage is kind of behind me, and otherwise I'm always interrupting what I'm doing. It's like a kitchen. Your craft room becomes like a kitchen. Anyway, so now I've got two nice tags that I can do my napkins on. I'm going to just ink up the edges because that's just what we do. Just darkens the edges a bit. And the other thing it does is colors the edges. So if you're doing something, and there's nothing worse than you turn something on its side and it's got this glaring white edge. So it takes the color off the edge. And it just looks a bit nicer. So there's that one. If you start watching these junk journal videos or any of these, where they're doing a lot of vintagey type stuff, they're always apologizing because they got to stop and ink, but you got to stop and ink because it just doesn't, it looks too white and stark if you don't. And I don't know, I like it better if it's inked. So anyway, so what I have now is two tags. I haven't put the rings or anything on it because I'll do that at the end once things are on her. So now I have two napkins that I'm going to use. One is this cute little napkins I got off Amazon. It's a little hedgehog, little mushrooms. I can use the mushroom part, or I can use the hedgehog part, or I can use the rose hips or the acorns, or all as one. I'll show you how I'm going to pick and choose what I can take. And the other napkin is the one, I think you saw it yesterday if you watched my video. It's just, we got it at the dollar store yesterday. It's just apples. Now, the thing with napkins are made up of most of the time 3 layers, sometimes 2, but not very often 2. Mostly it's 3. So what you want to do is take that top layer off so that you just have that thin kind of tissue paper. And that can be a real pain to try and get the edges. So there's a trick. You take a piece of Scotch tape just a piece of Scotch tape, and stick it on and pull. There's that first layer of napkin gone. The second one, just do the same, maybe a little bit more carefully so that you don't damage the top layer, which is what you're really after, and then just separate it away. And then what you're left with is this nice sheer layer. You can see, and especially once it gets wet with the glues that you put on, the white part anyway, it sort of disappears, and it's pretty cool. You'll see. And then so we'll just take the layers off this guy, pull them off, and then pull off the second one. I realize I've just got this tiny, that's what the green tape's for. I don't know if I told you that, because I don't know what I told you in the one I had to scrap, and I'm sorry for the ring. I should put a piece of paper there. So you're not glaring. And I could probably raise my camera up a bit and have a bigger area to work in, but if I want to keep making these videos, I think what I'm going to do is get a better tripod or something. As it seems, I think the phone works fine, although people say 30 minutes is the end of the video, so I'm coming up on 26 minutes, so I'm sorry I'm yapping away for 26 minutes. I don't know if it'll cut out on me or not. I'll keep an eye on it. So, how you take a piece out of the napkin that you want, you use your water brush. And I think I'm going to go for the mushrooms, because you know me, I really like my mushrooms. So, you could cut it out, but if you cut, you have a hard edge, and it kind of shows. Whereas if you can tear them, it's a softer edge, and when the glue goes on it, it kind of almost disappears. So, basically, you just take your water brush and just draw a line. And just pull gently. You draw a line and pull, and it just once that paper gets wet, it just pulls away. So you just keep going around whatever image it is you want, and just keep gently pulling it. I'm not going to use the hedgehog, so I'll just go down like this and go around like that. Just gently, 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 because it is quite delicate right now. It's it's tissue paper, and it's actually finer than tissue paper. It's not to say that it's like so delicate that you can't work with it. You just have to be gentle. And if you pull it or rip it, really, the whole point of this, the journaling, art journaling, junk journaling, that to me that I really like, is that it doesn't matter if it rips or pulls or wrinkles, it just adds to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue that on there, and what'll happen is where these lighter areas are on here, the text is actually going to show through, and it's going to really look like the mushrooms are almost painted on there. So there's a variety of ways you can put this on here. Really just depends what you want. I'm going to, because we've been dealing with the glue stick, I'm going back to the glue stick. So what I'm going to do is just kind of put glue stick roughly where I know my image is going to end up. Like I say, it'll dry clear, so it really doesn't matter if there's glue elsewhere. Not a big deal. Then you just kind of, I want my mushroom, I want that red, that thing on to be on there, and then you just kind of, you could kind of lift it up and put it back down. Just be real easy with it. Just like you're handling a kitten. Just gentle. And because once it's on there, you're good. It's still vulnerable, But once I put the top layer of glue on and it dries, this will be pretty secure. Some people, you can also, again, take your piece of wax paper and just press it down without, the glue sticking to your fingers and ripping things, and then just peel it back gently. Just peel it back gently. There you go. And flip it over and find your scissors in the big mess that you've got onto the side here, and then just trim off that piece, and there we've got little mushrooms. And so what you can do now, I might just wait for that glue to dry, because when I add the other glue on, well, I don't know. We'll glue the apple onto the other one, and then we'll come back to this one. So on this one, we'll put the apple on. And too much stuff. I'm not sure how much of this apple and flour I want to use, so I'm going to take, well, I'll start just by taking the apple. And actually, yes, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the apple, so in your travels, if you see napkins, and not any napkins, what works best is napkins like this that have a lot of white in the background. Florals, wildlife. That's what we like anyway. You might like something else. So actually, I'm going to take this branch here to come out of the top of the apple. See, that's the other thing you can do, is you don't have to use these images the way they're on here. You can separate them out and mix them up into a different, oh, we're at 32 minutes, so it hasn't stopped. Mix them into a different pattern of flowers. So I'm just going to go down there, just gentle, and so I'll put that kind of up there and have the apple here, but I'm going to have to, I don't want, see, chances are, because that stem is so dark, it's quite possible that it would show right through the apple, so I'm just taking it off of there so that it's not underneath the red of the apple. And I think once I'm done, I can probably, I'll put those on, and then I might be able to take one of the blossoms and use it. So I'm going to put the leaves on first. Oops, sorry, I hit the camera. Here. Tendency is like, what's this thing's in my way? And then realize what you've done. Okay, so I'm just going to glue this down. Put that on there. And don't fuss if things hang over the side or don't fit on completely. It actually is nice when they don't, because, like, actually I'll take the apple off part, because the person that's watching it kind of leads them to think that there's something more beyond this picture, like it goes off the screen, so where does it go? Are there more apples on the other side? It's a trick that artists use to make their paintings look like they span a bigger area than they actually do. I mean, it's just a piece of paper, but by putting the apple coming off of the page, it looks like there's more beyond this tag. Oh, see, in this, and a little bit of wrinklies got wet with extra glue, but it's no big. No big at all. Once we put that top layer of glue on, it won't matter. That's what I like about this kind of art is it doesn't really matter. As long as you can live with it. Some people are pretty fussy, but most of them, they kind of go for that look, and I like that. So there's the apple, and let's just see. These flowers are so faint. I'm going to try and get this pink bit here, and around there. Probably won't work very well, but you know, you gotta try, right? You gotta try. What have I got to lose? It's a freaking napkin and a piece of cardboard. A bit of glue. And if you don't try, you don't learn. Yeah, might work. Well, give it a shot. Whatever, eh? It's either going to work or it's not. And if it doesn't work, sometimes all you need to do is paint on top of it. You know, maybe once we finish with this, maybe what I'll need to do is enhance the flower with a bit of paint. And it just occurred to me that why would apple blossoms and apples be on the same branch, but it's art, so who cares? Anyway, okay, so those are down. I'm just going to just give it a pat with my wax paper. Oh, the other thing you can use for this is parchment paper. Parchment paper sometimes is even better because nothing sticks to that stuff. Alright, so we'll go back to the mushroom. So that's pretty much dry now. So what I'm going to do now, there's, most people use something called Mod Podge. That's what you most commonly see in Michael's and stuff. We can buy it at Walmart. It's everywhere. But I don't think it kind of dries a bit tacky. I like this stuff better. It's called Collage Podge. It's this bottle, which was basically a pint. Excuse me. I got it off Amazon. It's $13. It's not cheap, but it's not expensive either. And I'm just going to take a paintbrush. I'm just going to drizzle a bit on. Just a little bit. Sometimes I squirt it on the mat beside so I can have more control over what I'm doing. But I'm just going to take a paintbrush and just gently paint it. Even just pick it up and paint it. So this stuff, even though it's going, see, and where it lifts up like this, I can just put some glue on it, and I'm just going to cover the whole thing so that it all has the same texture when it's done. This stuff, even though it goes on white, it will dry crystal clear. Once it's dry, you won't be able to see it. I'm getting some bubbling here, but one of the things you can do for that, the other tool at your disposal is a credit card. You know, it's still, but I'm not terribly fussed about it. It'll bubble a bit. It'll kind of tone down a bit once it's dry. It's just a tag. It's nothing serious, but you can see how you can't really see where the edge was of where that mushroom got cut off. It's just kind of disappeared. So let's paint this guy. I know he hasn't sat as long. Okay, this time I'm going to put it on the side because I want to be able to control how much I use. So I'm just gently going to brush it down. This is probably better. Then I can just, instead of globbing it on and trying to make it all fit. See, I'm getting wrinkles here. No big. One lady I know, she goes by the name Artie Mays on YouTube, and she does the most beautiful junk journal work. When she's done her decoupage, she actually takes an emery board and sands it to sand all the lumpy bits off, all the lumpy bits of glue, and kind of even everything out, make it smooth. And it actually kind of wears away some of the paper, which just adds to it, because it gets a real distressed look then. Yeah, this one is really wrinkling up. I'll just kind of go from the center out and try and push out some of the wrinkles. And again, I'm probably off screen. Yeah, this YouTube gig's harder than it looks. I'm having far more respect for the ladies that do this. It's not easy to keep track of where you are. I'm just going to use up this on this one. Keep track of where you are and what you've said and what you've done. And okay, let's put that in my water bucket. Wipe that away. Put that back. Oops. Globbies. So anyway, there's her tags. And you can see how, like on the apple especially, you can see, excuse me, how the music is showing through the transparency of the napkin. So there is, I do have another tool here. It's called Zap. I got this off Amazon. I think it was $25. Basically, they call it a heat gun, and it's sort of like a hairdryer, but it's much hotter. This plastic cone on the end is to protect, so you can't touch that metal thing. You can burn yourself, but you still have to be careful. Like if you're holding on to this thing, you don't want to blow on your hands. It's not like a hairdryer. It's hot. Anyway, I'm going to turn it on, so it's a bit noisy, but I just want to give these a bit of a dry. You could use a hairdryer for that. Hairdryer isn't as, no, it's still pretty wet, but that's okay. It'll dry by itself. Hairdryer isn't as hot, and it blows more, so if you have stuff that could get blown off your table, it will. That one has a lot of heat, but not so much blowing air. And you also use it to emboss with, which is kind of cool, because embossing is a whole other thing that I could introduce you to, and I probably shouldn't be introducing you to any of this stuff, because I might as well introduce you to crystal meth, because it's going to be addicting. But whatever, it's a little bit better. See, I could put this bee on here if I wanted to, or up here, although he's the wrong style. I do have some stamps coming that are actually more realistic insects, and that would be better. This guy's too stylized, so he wouldn't be a good idea. But, oh crap, that reminds me, I have to do an envelope for Danica's card, because I got to get that ready so I can mail it to her tomorrow. I mean, I could put a moth, that's more suitable. Should put a moth on the apples, and making a statement about the apple. Whatever. Oh, I should show you, while we're waiting for that to dry, I'm going to show you my box of images that I have been collecting and riffle through. It's just, this is what I've got. Stuff I've printed, stuff I've torn out of books. It's, once you get going, it's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy the kind of shit you end up with. A lot of these are printed. I printed them at work, or I printed them on my inkjet printer here at home. I've got a lot of these pictures, like old pictures, just various stuff. And you start to collect stuff that suits your taste, you know. I mean, not everybody likes this old shit, but I do. And, yeah, so that's my goodie box. And I'm just walking away. Yeah. Anyway, I think I'll head off now because this is a 45-minute video, and I apologize it's so long. You can watch it in bits, or you can fast forward it. It's mostly just me yapping on about shit, so I hope you get something out of it. And you can see now why Grandma and I like napkins, and we collect napkins. I've got well over a dozen different packages of napkins of different stuff. Anyway, I love you. I will email you tomorrow. Bye.